Hello everyone, welcome back to Relax with Animal Facts. I am Steph Wolf, and today I'm going to learn with you about our furry, scaly, or possibly slimy friends. In today's case, we are talking about mostly a scaly friend of ours, one that I was told didn't exist as a kid. I found out when I was younger, much younger, that dragons didn't exist, which was devastating for me. But it turns out they kind of do. Well, Komodo dragons. Maybe not the mythological creatures known as dragons, but hey, this is the next best thing. So we're learning about the Komodo dragon. This is a listener submission from Jared Cook, who also happens to be a Patreon subscriber. So those of you that want to join and support the Patreon, that's patreon.com/rwafpodcast. So thank you so much, Jared, for the podcast suggestion and for your support on Patreon. It means the world. So we're going to just go straight into the show today, and I'm going to talk about where I got my facts from. So I got my facts from Live Science or Live Science, so kind of one of the staples on the show here, and mentalfloss.com. Live Science had almost everything that I needed. I went to a bunch of different sources, but Live Science seemed to have the vast majority of it. So that is where I got all my facts from. So if you're interested in this, in any animal that I talk about, make sure to check out those resources. You can go and see where I get my information from, and you can maybe even dig a little bit deeper if you'd like, which is always encouraged. You know, you guys are so passionate. I get so many emails from you guys now, and it puts a smile on my face. So if you want to see your animal on the podcast, make sure that you write into relaxwithanimalfacts@gmail.com. I absolutely love hearing from you guys. I reply to every single one of you, and it always puts a smile on my face seeing all you passionate people out there. So why don't we just get into the first fact of the show? So the Komodo dragon is the largest living lizard in the entire world. And they are identifiable by their massive size, flat heads, bowed legs, which means their legs kind of jet out in that bow-like structure, and they have these really long and thick tails. So if you haven't seen these guys before, they are very, very large. The average size of a male Komodo dragon is 8 to 9 feet long. So if you were to stand the average male Komodo dragon upright, they would be much, much taller than me, which is a little bit demoralizing there, but it is what it is. They weigh about 200 pounds, and according to the Smithsonian National Zoological Park, so Smithsonian National, I love those guys, and they said that Komodo dragons can reach up to 3 meters long. 3 meters long, that is insane. That is as long as some small cars. So very, very impressive. Credit where credit is due. This is by all intents and purposes, a giant lizard. And they do have good vision, despite what some of the resources that I read said that their vision is not so good, but I believe they might have been comparing it to its sense of smell. But they can see as far away as 300 meters or 985 feet. So I don't think I can see 300 meters, not without my glasses at least. So I don't exactly agree with the assessment that they have poor vision. I think they actually have some quite decent vision. Their smell, however, is their primary way of finding food and navigating the world. So very similar to snakes. I'm sure you guys have seen snakes before use their tongues. So they will use those forked special tongues that they have to sample the air, and then by touching the roof of their mouth with the tip of their tongue, they have special organs there that will analyze and process these airborne molecules. So for example, this I did not know. So this is an example. If the left tongue tip has more concentrated smell, I guess you could say, the dragon will know that their prey is approaching from the left side. So that was something that kind of blew my mind a little bit. Again, one of these very adaptive sort of traits that they have. They have these special organs that are able to process this kind of information. As you most likely know, us humans do not have this ability. We can smell, we can see. Some of us can see better than others, taste better than others, but generally we are not able to detect any kind of location, whether it be a general or not, by jetting our tongues out and touching them to the roof of their mouth. We have to let that be a trait for snakes and for Komodo dragons, I guess. And despite them being so large, both lengthwise and weight-wise, don't let that fool you. They can run pretty fast. For you US listeners out there, it's about 13 miles per hour. I guess for everybody else, it's going to be 20 kilometers per hour, which is no small feat for these big guys. And they generally prefer hunting stealthily, but I suppose if they need to run for whatever reason, they can run quite well. They are also considered to be quite excellent swimmers as well, which is pretty interesting to me. I know that a lot of lizards are kind of these semi-aquatic lizards that are able to navigate water quite well. I did not imagine that for the Komodo dragon just because of its size, but I suppose they're not an exception to that rule. They can swim quite well, be it, I don't know what kind of style they'd be swimming, maybe breaststroke for the most part. I don't think or maybe some front crawl or doggy paddle. I'm not exactly sure. I'll have to search up a Komodo dragon swimming to figure that out. So in terms of their colors, so they come in a variety of colors. We're talking blue, orange, green, and gray. And they have very special skin because it is reinforced with bony plates that are known as osteoderms. So those of you who are maybe more versed with anatomical kind of terms, osteo is always referring to bone. Derm is most oftentimes referring to the skin. So bone and skin, of course, very, very intuitive kind of name there. And these osteoderms that it has is going to give this Komodo dragon durability, and it's going to give it toughness, which is pretty important in its environment. It is, of course, complete with very long claws, sharp claws, and a muscular tail. So those attributes make this lizard quite a formidable opponent just by reading it. And this lizard is considered to be very rare, not because it is considered endangered necessarily, but because it is only found in the wild on 5 islands. So we're talking the Lesser Sunda Islands of Komodo, so I guess they named it after the Komodo dragon, Rinca, Gili Montang, and Gili Dasami, I hope I'm saying that okay, and the island of Flores. And the island of Flores has a special connection not only to Komodo dragons, but also to us human beings. So those of you that might not know, there were many different branches of kind of archaic humans that were eventually, I suppose, wiped out by modern humans. So on the island of Flores, this is just kind of like a bonus fact for you guys, just because I've learned about this before in some evolutionary history. The Flores man was found there, also nicknamed the Hobbit. So the scientific name being a little bit difficult to pronounce, it's Homo floresiensis. So a little bit weird there, but so it was a very small species, hence why they were nicknamed the Hobbit. It was a very small species of archaic humans which inhabited this part of Indonesia known as the island of Flores. And they survived up to about 50,000 years ago before the arrival of modern humans. And I guess you guys can guess, well, they're not around anymore, so you can guess what happened there with modern humans. So that's kind of a bonus fact for you. I always like to connect, whenever I can, us humans to other animals in some way, just because, we sometimes forget that we are ourselves animals, So cool kind of bonus fact. The Flores man, also the Hobbit, found on the same island where we have some of these Komodo dragons roaming around freely. So I'm just going to take a quick drink of my tea here. I am having a nice chamomile mixed with some honey. It's kind of getting to the later hours, so I'm just kind of, coming down from the day. I went on a very long bike ride today, just because it's getting so beautiful outside. So any of you out there, I always encourage you guys to get some exercise a little bit as we get some nicer weather. Of course, within reason. Everybody stay safe out there. That is very good, and it makes me happy that it's not too hot. Almost every time on the show, when I go for the first drink of my tea, it is always just a little bit too hot for me. So that is a relief to see that it is fine. So let's talk more about their habitat here. So the Komodo dragon can be found in somewhat dry tropical forests, savannas, also deciduous monsoon forests, and the common denominator between all of those being extreme heat. So they really like extreme heat, which would probably mean they won't like Canada here, just because our weather can be pretty gruesome when it comes to the cold, and it seems like more and more Canada's getting colder and colder, and the extreme heat, or the heat, is a little bit farther in between. Enough about Canada. I keep going on about the weather now. So we're talking about incredible heat like 95 degrees Fahrenheit, 35 degrees Celsius, something that we humans consider to be pretty hot. That is their average of where they like to be. So I'm sure some of you live in places where 35 degrees Celsius is the norm. Here in Canada, I could say with confidence that it is not. But I'm sure you enjoy it. So Komodo dragons have what researchers call dual-purpose homes. So to stay warm at night, they will make they will make burrows, or they will find burrows that have already been made to nestle down in, just to keep them warm. And during the day, when it gets to be very, very hot, they will use those same burrows to keep them cool. So I suppose different laws concerning temperature can make sure that the same nest that is being used for warmth during the nighttime can be used as shade and for cool during the daytime. So these big lizards are considered to be carnivores. So when it comes to diets, this carnivorous diet covers that of only meat. So you're not going to see them chowing down on seeds or nuts or berries. They prefer just meat. And they can take down some very large prey. That includes water buffalo. If you don't know what water buffalo are, they are very, very large. Deer, carrion, pigs, and even humans. So they haven't eaten humans. They haven't interacted with humans too much in terms of death tolls or anything like that. I'm sure that they have in the past bitten humans, and that has, one thing leads to another. But they generally are not seen hurting humans all that often, which is, I think, a good thing, because a 3-meter long lizard can be fairly scary. So they have some seriously sharp and serrated teeth, which will help them shred into their prey. So what they will do, they will knock the prey over with its huge feet, or at least attempt to, and then they will kind of dig in and do as much damage as they can with those teeth. So very sharp, very serrated, and if the prey gets away there, it doesn't really... It often doesn't matter, because they have saliva that contains about 50 different strains of bacteria. And oftentimes within 24 hours of having bitten their prey, they will have, the infection would have taken its toll. And thanks to its very wonderful sense of smell, it can find the prey after and feast on it. So there's kind of a debate going around of whether or not the Komodo dragon is considered to be venomous. It's still up for debate. It's not 100% conclusive, but maybe I shouldn't form an opinion on this because I'm not a researcher. But yeah, so whether they're venomous or not is still up for debate. So they're not 100% considered venomous just yet. So they will eat up to 80% of their body weight in one feeding. And they're not necessarily picky with meat. They will if they find a carcass, they will eat it most likely. So Komodo dragons are mostly solitary out of mating season. So I see that they maybe prefer social distancing all the time. The males maintain and defend a territory up to 2 kilometers per day. So 2 kilometers being 1.2 miles for you US listeners out there. And they will mate between the months of May and August. So actually right now, it is mating season for the Komodo dragon. And the females will lay about 30 eggs each in September. And to keep the babies safe, they will do something really interesting, which is building decoy nests. So nests that have no eggs in them, that are there just to confuse predators. And while she is with the real grapefruit-sized eggs, so very large eggs, for around 3 months, she's incubating them in the real nest. And a group of eggs is called a clutch in the case of the Komodo dragon. So a little quick fact there. And this is one of the most interesting things ever to me, and I didn't know this fact. So the Komodo dragon can reproduce both sexually and asexually. So that is really, really an interesting thing. So what this means is that female Komodo dragons can have virgin births. So they do not necessarily need the help of the opposite gender to make offspring, which is very, very cool. But it's good that they can produce both sexually and asexually. In the case of maybe a partner is available, it can be very good for genetic diversity and the future of the species to be able to adapt over time and kind of mix good genetics together. But I suppose having the option to breed asexually as well can prove to be very useful if the population is dwindling a little bit lower and mates aren't that readily available. So I think that's very amazing. So other examples of, I wanted to search up other examples of asexual reproducing animals. So other examples include salamanders, so other kind of lizards, certain crayfish, and sea anemones. So asexual reproduction is not that common of a trait to have among species. And as soon as the eggs will hatch, the young will end up running away and climbing up the trees to avoid being eaten by other Komodos or even its mother. So it seems as though the Komodo dragons really do whatever they can for their survival. So fairly, I guess, a savage way of living, but I'm sure that it has saved some individuals in the past, so I guess that's why they do it. So these are very large lizards, and they can live for more than 30 years, which sounds about right to me. So let's talk about their conservation for a second. So they are considered to be vulnerable, but of course we have to remember that they are on only 5 different islands. So they're not everywhere around the world. We're talking only these 5 small islands there, and they estimate the population to be about 6,000, and they are protected. Those populations are protected in those environments, so that is fantastic. So let's go to the final fact of the show, which is the name. Where does the name Komodo dragon come from? So the name comes from rumors that there was a dragon-like creature living on the Indonesian island of Komodo. So no Western scientists had actually seen a Komodo dragon until the year 1912, according to the San Diego Zoo. And local people will also call them ora, or land crocodiles as well. So I think that's super cool. So this is one of the most unique animals that we have covered on the show. And again, thanks so much, Jared, for submitting this request. If you want to hear your animal on the podcast, again, you can send an email to relaxwithanimalfacts@gmail.com. On the Patreon, you can also vote for the next animals that you would like to see in the podcast. So we're getting new people supporting the show through the Patreon. If you would like to, that's patreon.com/RWAF podcast. Thank you so much for supporting the show that way. If you want to support the show another way, clicking follow or subscribe, whatever podcast platform you're on, that really helps the show out. I absolutely love doing these and want to continue doing them in the future. So thank you all so very much for tuning in and for listening and for relaxing here with me today. Definitely a relaxing time for me. So I hope you all enjoy the rest of the week, and I will see you on the next podcast episode with the next animal. Take care.